a simmering Northern Irish gangland feud over the past month that has left a quiet town shaken has finally reached its end, as members of a breakaway loyalist gang have been definitively stood down. The Ulster Defence Association is a loyalist paramilitary who undertook an armed campaign against Irish Republicans from 1971 to 1998. But in the wake of the 98 peace agreement, the UDA did not disband, but instead split into a loose network of independent gangs who only fight one another. The North Down UDA, based in and around the northern section of County Down, Northern Ireland, is one of these gangs. With its headquarters in Newtonards, a 28,000-person town just outside East Belfast, the North Down UDA was previously known as West Belfast UDA's D Company, as it was set up by former West Belfast UDA leader Johnny Adair when he was trying to expand his own reach in the late 90s and early 2000s. But in 2022, D Company was expelled by the West Belfast leadership following a drug-related brush-up between its leader, convicted 50-year-old extortionist Dickie Berry, and West Belfast boss Mo Courtney. Since then, the Loyalist gang has been describing itself as the North Down UDA and used Newtonards as its drug-dealing power base. But they were not alone. The town was also the turf of 52-year-old Adrian Price, a drug-dealing thug who threw his weight around because he paid protection money to the Southeast Antrim UDA, another breakaway of the mainstream organization. With the violent weight of Southeast Antrim behind him, Price could do whatever he wanted, and he did. With 118 previous convictions, Adrian Price was in court again last summer after beating his own son with a bat in a paramilitary-style punishment attack, during which Price is said to have also fired a gun into the air. When police arrived and took the bat away, Price wrestled the weapon back before disappearing into Weaver's Grange, a new and modern housing development controlled by his gang. And the bad blood with Dickie Berry had been bubbling too, following a rumored bar fight between Price's 29-year-old son Buster and members of Berry's North Down gang the year before. Where Price's crew went, attention soon followed, and Southeast Antrim's recluse brigadier Gary Fisher was getting sick of it. Once one of Fisher's tightest allies, Price was one of 5 men convicted in relation to the murder of Colin Horner in May 2017. During Southeast Antrim's internal feud of 2016, Horner had been close to the faction that rivaled Gary Fisher, and had even taken to social media to badmouth those loyal to Fisher. This all amounted as enough to have Horner shot to death in front of his 4-year-old son as he got out of his car at Bloomfield Shopping Center in Bangor. 4 men confessed to the murder and were sentenced to terms of 15 and 16 years. But Price was only convicted of withholding information and walked free with a suspended sentence. But as the years went on and his rivalry with Dickie Berry intensified, Price drifted further away from Fisher. Price's Newtonards gang was being blamed for selling heroin, crack cocaine, extorting residents, and worst of all, not paying their fair share to the boss. So on March 22, 2023, a statement was issued to the Belfast Telegraph saying that 50 members of Southeast Antrim's Newtonards unit had been expelled. In a moment, Price went from bully to no longer having what made him untouchable. Without the muscle of a violent criminal cartel behind him, Price and his drug rackets were suddenly in the open, and the wolves were hungry. On the night of Thursday, March 23rd, a North Down UDA mob crashed through the door of Price's home in the West Winds estate. 8 masked men wrecked the house with baseball bats and iron bars, while Price himself was left untouched The gang's message was abundantly clear. Dickie Berry was making his move. The next day, graffiti began to appear on walls around town, threatening Price and his son, Buster. But rather than flee, Price said the only way he'd be leaving Newtonards was, quote, in a coffin. 8 homes were attacked over the weekend, with 2 petrol bombs being thrown and a pipe bomb left at a house with 4 children inside. While some members of Price's gang began to flee, others, including Price himself, refused to budge. The tit-for-tat attacks continued into the week, as masked men began to appear around the town known for its shopping. On the evening of Tuesday, March 28th, there were 7 attacks on homes across North Down, making it an especially challenging policing operation. But by Wednesday, 5 people had been arrested. The violence, however, was having its effect on the blameless residents of Newtonards. Price's Weaver's Grange stronghold was blocked off by police 24/7, and the nearby West Winds estate had become a nightly battleground. On Wednesday, sources close to Berry's gang said it would be finishing the feud by any means necessary, and the dispute would only end when Price's men left town. That evening, a petrol bomb was thrown at a house in the seaside town of Donegal, but thankfully, no one was hurt. On the morning of Thursday, March 30th, a group of 20 masked men gathered near the Newtonards courthouse and made their way towards Price's Weaver's Grange stronghold around 11 a.m. Armed with machetes and at least 1 gun, the gang was intercepted by police as locals attempted to go about their day. 1 man was arrested on the scene, and another 3 in a follow-up operation. But Price remained publicly defiant, telling the press that he was renaming his gang the Real UFF, a play on the Ulster Freedom Fighters moniker sometimes used by the UDA. On Friday, March 31st, a group of 4 that included Price's son Buster drove a BMW to a home in Donegal around 2:30 p.m. and started making threats to kill the homeowner, yelling things like, "You're a dead man walking," and "We're gonna rip your head off." The group in the BMW then traveled to the Ards shopping center in Newtonards to buy face coverings when they spotted 26-year-old Stephen Cunningham, a member of the Price faction who had been accused by Buster and company of not doing enough to help his gang. The men then caught up to Cunningham, and Buster punched him in the face in front of screaming children. The quartet sped away in the BMW, but the vehicle was stopped by police nearby. All 4 were arrested on the scene and later charged. That same day, the North Down UDA said the dispute would only come to an end when a list of 20 people, including Price and Buster, left Northern Ireland. But Price's gang refused to lay down publicly, and by Saturday, it had issued 29 death threats in just 12 hours to members of the North Down UDA and relatives of Dickie Berry. This was to be the final straw. On the night of Saturday, April 1st, the North Down UDA issued a statement saying that a 20-man hit list of Price's gang had just 48 hours to leave Newtonards. By Sunday, Price hadn't been seen at his home in several days, and there was already discontent among some of his men who were unhappy at putting themselves on the line for someone who was clearly looking for a way out. Also on Sunday, April 2nd, for reasons that have not been made entirely clear, the BMW that was confiscated by the police after the Friday shopping mall incident was set on fire outside the Dundonald police station. On Monday, April 3rd, Price's son Buster was remanded into prison for the shopping mall altercation. With Buster in custody and Price still nowhere to be found, the Real UFF support base in Weaver's Grange was now said to be in the single digits. That evening, the West Winds Residents Collective staged a walk to protest the violence they said was caused by Price's gang. The protest also coincided with the 48-hour deadline given for the gang to leave town. The event went off peacefully, and while police have maintained a presence in the area, the infighting appears to have finally come to an end, with UDA murals being removed from Weaver's Grange. In reality, the turf war between Dickie Berry and Adrian Price was nothing but a feud between two drugs gangs who had been cut loose by mainstream leadership. And while the North Down UDA have won in the short term, the feud has raised a number of questions about the police's willingness to deal with so-called loyalist gangs. But violence like this does a disservice to loyalism. It's a clash of older men who have been using much younger recruits to carry out their dirty work. These are young people with little educational achievement and even less in the way of employment opportunities, who are then easily recruited into the type of gangland criminality that comes with membership of a so-called paramilitary organization. While this seems like an easy way to get power and status, the truth is, once you get sucked into a group like the UDA, it is all but impossible to get out.